Namaste. I'm Ritika Arya from India. I'm a fresh commerce graduate from the University of Mumbai. I've been engaged with the social sector for a few years now. My picture of the perfect world includes people, places, processes, everything else, but it excludes conventional NGOs. And I very carefully say this despite the fact that I am a founder of an NGO myself. I will clarify this in my talk. Okay, I don't know if I should say this, but all of you here are teens, okay? I used to be in my teens until a year ago, and I've been ousted by time. I feel really old, but I'm 20. And being 20, teen or not, this question, which is, what does the world need me to do? It's a companion of most people during their lifetimes. It hangs out with me quite often. And when the question and me are hanging out, I try to shortlist options of what I could be best at: accounting, fashion designing, gardening, or maybe firefighting. But I'm not sure yet. So I've actually grown up listening to stories of Indian freedom fighters and how they happily laid their lives for India's freedom struggle. As a tiny 8-year-old, I knew that I wanted to grow up and do something for my country. Did not know what and did not know how. So the plan that emerged then was to grow up to be a businesswoman, earn lots of money, and do big charity. Simple, wasn't it? I was growing up as a teenager who was only interested in watching movies, being in coffee parlors with friends, talking meaningless things, discussing how the Indian government was doing nothing, how there was unemployment, how there was poverty, and how all of this would never end. 26 July 2005, the year when the highest ever rainfall was recorded in Mumbai. I was in my school bus, stranded on the highway, and it was really crazy because there was chaos all around. By the grace of God, I managed to reach home safely that day. And many children went missing, and a number of people lost lives. Mumbai is a city that springs up very quickly. So it was on its way to recovery, but I felt the urge of doing something for those people who were disaster-struck. Me and my friends started a collection drive and sent out materials like biscuits, clothes, water, and other necessities to those who were affected. We completed the task, and everything was done, but I didn't feel satisfied from inside. There was a feeling of restlessness that had gripped me instead. What had started to bother me now was, what after the clothes got worn out, the biscuits got over, the food was over? What would the people do? How would they rebuild their homes? So with these questions and that uncomfortable feeling, I stayed for a few years, until I became a part of Ashoka's youth venture program in Mumbai and met youngsters who were 16, 17, 18, doing amazing work in the community. For instance, Aarti was running a literacy program for the girls in her community, and Ashok was using football as a tool for development in his community. You know, from child rights to creating awareness on environment, you name it, and it was being undertaken. I was just 18 myself and deeply impacted by the work these guys were doing. So I thought, let me find out more. I went ahead to find out that these people were not unemployed youth who had nothing to do. They were not people who were from wealthy communities and had money to splurge. They were just like you and me, enrolled in universities, in colleges, had friends to attend to, families to attend to, and they were still doing what they were doing. I had somewhere started to connect with them. These guys are change makers who have refused to be a part of the problem and are definitely a part of the solution. So with that, what became clear was that there was a difference between charity and social change. Charity is an act of benevolence, whereas social change is much beyond that. Charity can be considered as a catalyst in social change. Creating positive, sustainable social change actually alters social behaviors. It changes social relations in a society. And I had confused these two terms when I was a child. So there have been many people who have inspired me, but I want to share the story of a woman who I truly respect and admire. Her name is Surekha, and she has been my domestic help for almost 8 years now. She's a widow and has 3 kids. She was a young mother when she was widowed, and I remember she told me that after her husband expired, her in-laws had thrown her literally on the streets with her 3 children. Despite her poor health, she worked day in and day out and managed to get all her 3 children good education. She told me that as long as she could work, she would strive to support her children's education, and post that, she would surrender to God. I was really touched. I thought that if a woman, a single mother, financially and physically unstable, can take care of the education of 3 children, give them such wonderful values, then why can't I, with the support of my family and friends, cater to the supplementary educational needs of at least 30 children of domestic helpers in my own housing society? So when I took the first step, very few people had faith in me. They doubted my intentions. In fact, the target group that I wanted to work with, I had an orientation program with them. And post that, just 4 children turned up for the Sunday class. It was disheartening to see that the people who you want to be of help to do not trust you, and your friends are simply not interested. So I thought to myself that I'm not doing a favor to anyone. This is my dream. And if I didn't stand up for my dream, I cannot expect people to stand up for me. I went on and continued what I was doing. And slowly and steadily, my endurance got the attention of a few people. And I was so happy that support started coming in. Processes started falling into place. And fortunately, my sister and a very old school friend joined MIE. While a founder has a special place in an organization, the importance of a team can never be overlooked. So these guys joined MIE, and we started working on these children. Then the team actually started coming across issues that the children were facing. So there is this small girl called Sumitra. She's 6 years old and stays in the National Forest in Bombay. She would come to class in tattered clothes, in a very unstable frame of mind. She wouldn't talk, she would be reserved. And we would just wonder what's wrong with her. And we found out that she would be beaten by her drunken father quite often. This was about Sumitra. There's another girl called Pooja, who's 14. She would be in class and she would doze off. And we would get angry because we would wonder, isn't she interested in studying? We're doing so much for her, and why is she behaving so irresponsible? And we found out that there were many days when she couldn't sleep all night because of the water that would keep dripping onto her in her house during the monsoons. And small instances like these made us sensitive. When we began, we thought we were there to change the lives of these kids, these slum kids, teach them a way of life, teach them good manners. And this was not correct, because when we moved on, we realized that there was so much that we had to learn. And one dialogue with a girl called Kanchan in my apartment made me realize something. So I was actually teaching her about the importance of water conservation. So these are the children, and when I was telling Kanchan how important it is to use water wisely, she said, Didi, hamare yahan to pani aata hi nahi hai. That means that there was no water in her home. In the small slum that she lived, they did not get water at home. And I thought to myself, how hypocritical of us. We're the ones who take these long showers and steam baths and are telling these children to conserve water? Like, seriously? That made us even more sensitive to our surroundings. We stopped using words like us and them. All that remained was we, and how we all could move forward and be empowered human beings. So while this was going on, from just being a program of education for the children of MIE, organically, the space became a space where there were no boundaries of caste, creed, color, age, and it was a sacred space for all of us now. So be it volunteers or children, we would sit together, eat together, play together, have fun, and even go crazy sometimes. So the next thing that we needed to do was create a feeling of ownership and responsibility. Now, these two words are different. Amongst the people around us, we wanted to create this feeling of ownership towards their nation as well as the world. We started with ourselves. In one of the Saturday meetings, this question was put on the table that how many of you feel responsible, or how many of y'all feel ownership towards your country and your world? No third option was given, just the two options, ownership and responsibility. And the unanimous answer that came was, we had all never given this a thought. We had never thought if we feel responsible or if we feel ownership towards our world. So now it was important to bring about this feeling. So we decided that while the supplementary education program would continue, we would also conceptualize and organize events for the youth that would sensitize and mobilize them. The very first event that we held was called Camping in a Concrete Jungle, CCJ. It was an event for youngsters your age where they came in, there was food, there was camping, there was bonfire, crazy activities, and skills of leadership, entrepreneurship, and team building were polished. So you've got a taste of it. We did events like these to create this platform and so that the youth could all get together and feel ownership, feel responsibility. This was an event held on 15th of August, which is Indian Independence Day, where youngsters are doing a street play, and there are people from all age groups, from 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, to 70, 75, and 80-year-olds who attended it. This was a race that was held for the domestic servants. It's a spoon and marble race where they're competing to come first. And this is the entire team that worked towards all these programs. So what we're trying to create now is a world in which there are people who are connected. If you see that all these youngsters individually definitely have some power, but together they also have more power. So these events, what they created was that people who were indifferent to all these issues were not indifferent to them anymore. While some may say this is not an achievement enough, I'd say that when one is indifferent, you can do anything in front of that person and that person won't care. But even to bring those people out of that state was an achievement that kept us going. So there was love, there was hope, there was passion, all of this together that kept us going. Some may say that 20, 25 volunteers, 60 children, 5, 6 events, and 600 odd people that may have been touched. How is this going to solve any purpose? I agree that numbers are important. But the bitter truth is that we do not aim to reach out to all the 210 million youngsters in our country or open 20 branch offices in 20 different states of our country. Because we believe that this world needs organizations not to grow, but we dream of a world where organizations like ours won't be needed any longer. So we have faith in the fact that if we remain persistent with our efforts, we as a global community will witness the chain effect. For instance, 3 of our children, Anand, Prakash, and Avinash, who are just 16 years of age, they study with us in the morning class, came up to us one day and said that even we want to volunteer for the next program that MIE is starting in the Sanjay Gandhi National Forest. And they didn't just say it, they didn't just show interest. They actually came and volunteered. So they would study with us in the morning class and then come with us in the afternoon to the tribal village inside the forest and then take up roles as facilitators. And they would also be translators because we didn't know the local language of the tribals in the village. So just imagine if out of 60 children, if even 30 reached out to 10 people each, and out of those people they've reached out to, even half of them reach out to 5 more people, it can be such a powerful chain. So this is a story from Mumbai in India. But there are young change makers across the globe who are striving in their own creative ways to make this world a better place for you and for me and for the entire human race. So I want to end what I'm saying with a few lines. Everything in this world, tangible or intangible, has a color. Sympathy has a color. Empathy has a color. Passion, compassion has a color. Aggression also has a color. This world is a canvas, and we can paint it in the colors of our choice. Some dull and some bright, some dark and some light. In the end, the picture tells the story of each one's glory. Thank you. Shashay.